Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I am really excited to have with me Maria Vidal and Desmond Child from Desmond Child and Rouge. Maria and Desmond will talk all about everything going on and all the exciting news about new Desmond Child and Rouge material. I think you guys will be really excited to hear that. They'll also take us on a trip down memory lane, which includes great stories about George Harrison, Paul Stanley, Saturday Night Live in the 70s, and so much more. Also, Maria and Desmond will share a really funny story working with Steven Tyler and Aerosmith on the song Walking in the Sand. I think that was really hilarious and you guys will really enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Now, without further ado, let's jump in and get started with my conversation with Maria Vidal and Desmond Child from Desmond Child and Rouge. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I am so super excited and honored to have with me two members of Desmond Child and the Rouge. Please welcome back to the show Desmond Child and for the first time, Maria Vidal. Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Great.
We're doing so great. We're so happy and peppy, and I'm just so glad the election's over, and now we can all be friends again and move forward.
That's right. Before we even talk anything, obviously 2020 has been a very tough year, right? And Desmond, I know you were out there talking about people, vote, vote, vote. And you must have been so excited when people were out in the streets singing, living on a prayer, right? I saw you posted a video about that. That must have been very exciting for you.
I finally felt like I made it.
That's so fun.
That was really, really amazing, actually. That was like tears in the eye kind of thing, the way people express themselves that way. And everybody all over the world was like jumping for joy. I mean, whatever. People have their different opinions, but I do feel that a bunch of knots were loosened in people's stomachs, this week that we've been holding on to. Mm-hmm. We just breathed a sigh of relief a little bit. I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And it seemed like that was the way the world reacted. And I loved seeing that video. And, just for the listeners here that may not realize this, Maria, you are actually somewhat of an influence on that song, right?
That's what I hear.
That's right, because when we first started Desmond Child and Rouge, Maria was working as a singing waitress at a little it was like a diner kind of place called Once Upon a Stove. Mm-hmm. And so many years later, when I recall those wonderful times, and her like waitress stage name was Gina Velvet. Mm. And so when I went to go and write "Living on a Prayer" with John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora, I think the three of us brought, like our own stories. John Bon Jovi always talks about Bonnie and Joe, his friends from high school, and Richie always talks about his parents, that's because he still lived home then, and, how hard they worked. And so I was thinking about me and Maria because, my original name was Johnny, so I suggested Johnny and Gina. And John looked at me and said, "I can't sing Johnny. People think it's me."
Right.
And so all of a sudden it was like a little pause, and all of a sudden he said, "Tommy, Tommy and Gina," because it was Tommy's sort of like a sounder like of Johnny. Sure. So that's how Tommy and Gina were born. And here you go, Maria Vidal, the real Gina.
The real Gina. And Maria, when you heard the song, did you say, "Wait a second, that's me"? Did you know?
That's a good question. The thing about those days is that it's like a continuum, whether it was those years or this year, there's always been a feeling in Desmond Child and Rouge, this Desmond and I, about who we are, kind of, and we really, really did live like that. We lived in a little cold water flat. We were broke, and we were kind of living a dream, a real dream. And so that never really leaves you, I didn't actually say to myself, oh, wow, here, this song is about me particularly. It was just like a continuum of what life is like when you're young and you're out there doing it and you're in New York. And that's what we did. We were really young and we just went for it, And
Absolutely.
I mean, they were fantastic years to be doing that in New York City too,
Absolutely.
Those years were filled.
Well, guess what? Officially, on Mike's show, I'm telling you right now that you're the Gina in Living on a Prayer, okay?
Okay, that's me. That's me.
Oh, that's you. So
I did work at Once Upon a Stove, and that was a very cool little weird place. You had to go into this crazy little thing, and then you had to walk up these stairs, and behind a sliding bookcase, you'd go up, and it was a little cafe where we would be waiters, and then at some point we'd have to get up and sing,
right.
with like a piano player and stuff. And it was just really creative. I don't know if they have anything like that now. I doubt it. But it was very magical, I have to say.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. So, what brought us together today is exactly what you're talking about, some of those early days, right? And more recently, the two albums, the two Desmond Child and Rouge albums were re-released. But let's go back to the beginning. How did you guys come together?
We were going to NYU.
Okay.
And Desmond and I were together. He was my first boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And, he was always a fantastic writer. He was dreamy. I could sit and listen to him play and just, it was great. It was really dreamy. And our two friends, and we put like this little, this kind of strange little thing together where he would play and we would be sitting at the bar and we'd be pretending to be like making a big ruckus and saying that we could sing better than him, and then we'd go up on stage and we'd start doing stuff that we'd rehearsed. So it just developed as like this strange little theater music experience.
Kind of comedy act in a way with music, musical comedy act in a way.
Yeah, and that was kind of short-lived because we realized that really we were kind of serious about music, and the songs were amazing and very, personal about
and cinematic too.
Very cinematic, and and then we just started really doing it, and we got signed to Capitol with this guy that flew in from New York, and he wanted to hear us sing live, and so he just came.
No, he flew in from L.A. to New York.
He flew in from L.A. That's right. What am I saying? No, actually, it wasn't L.A. He flew in from London. That's why he was sleepy. Remember?
Oh no, you're talking about the head of it, but the guy that actually discovered us was our producer Richard Landis, who was an A&R guy at Capitol Records, and so then he brought Rupert Perry to our little apartment to listen to our music, and actually he was Australian and he flew from Australia to New York.
That's what it was.
Wow.
And then he came to listen to us, and within seconds he had fallen asleep and snoring. But we kept singing and dancing and like in our little living room. And then by the end, he kind of like woke up a little bit, and then he left. And the next day he signed us.
Wow.
So I think he was grateful that he actually got a chance to actually really sleep.
That's great.
It was a weird thing. We didn't really know what to do, but I think he signed us right away. But I don't remember Richard Landis being in the room. I think
Oh, yeah.
Just that. Really? Oh, wow. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was on 81st Street. We lived on 81st Street, East Side, Yorkville, very Hungarian.
Hungarian town. What they called Hungarian town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm half Hungarian, so it worked. My dad loved it.
Okay, nice. Now, what do you guys remember about that New York club scene in the mid-'70s, late '70s? Everything, I was too young for being in clubs at that time, but it seemed like such a lively time in Manhattan with the club scene.
Well, the fantastic thing was that there was like the ultimate chic, sophisticated club called Reno Sweeney. and we'd go there, and they'd have a talent night on Mondays. And all of these people that later on made it really big and everything, Mark Shaman, who he was like 15 years old, but he had a beard, and we snuck him in, and Allie Willis was the Hatchet or Kochek girl. I mean, so many people we were rubbing shoulders, and then that's how we started, and then we did a showcase or two, on that Monday talent night, and because Monday was the night that theater was out, so all these Broadway gypsies had their nightclub act, okay. And so testing it out, and then one of the owners, Elliot Hubbard, discovered us and started using us as an opening act for people like Ellen Green, Kathy Chamberlain, and Michael Federal. And we became the kind of go-to opening act because, first of all, they paid nothing. Mm-hmm. And we had, a lot of energy and beautiful harmonies. And, it was a great act. Mm-hmm. I mean, but the stage was so small. At one point, I think Diana pushed Miriam off the stage. Oh, my God. And, Miriam jumped back on, and then she started elbowing her like, like, how dare you push me off the stage?
Oh, that's great.
It was just a kind of like a random dance move. Right. She went flying.
That is very funny.
But I mean, those were those fantastic, very funny times. I don't think we ever spent a moment where we weren't laughing really hard and falling on the floor with tears in our eyes and our stomachs hurting, because all of us were jokesters and had so much fun. Mm. And that's why I mean, it was so uncertain because a lot of me and Miriam and Diana and Maria, we came from humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that we could make it to the top, I mean, we really worked hard. We were really motivated. Mm-hmm. And we would stencil the sidewalks around the record companies with our name and yellow spray paint on the asphalt. Oh, wow. And we would put up posters and banners, and then we'd try to trade mailing lists with our friends that were also performers, so everybody started, and then we just work really hard to pay for the stamps, in odd jobs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the kind of scrappy, existence that we had, and I mean, I just think of it with such warmth, and I just love it. And when we get together now to make new music, it's still the same fun, and we're still saying the same jokes, we still laugh just as hard as if it's the first time we heard it. So
that's great.
It's been really energetic and exciting, yeah. And we were ahead of our time because we were combining rock with pop, with dance beats and Latin and punk, and trying to create a fusion of all of those things, which 7-8 years later, all the kind of sounds that we were doing were broke big, mm-hmm. And so it was that was a fantastic, kind of what did they call a stomping ground or whatever, a nurturing place.
Mm-hmm. No, you just used words, and it was the exact words I had written down here. Ahead of your time, right? And that, to me, when I listened to that first album, and it's all the mixes of everything you just said, it really was, that was what, January of 79, I think the first album came out, or right around there. That really, to me, was ahead of its time, the mixture of all of those different elements.
And then the second album, which was a kind of other side of us, it was the rock punk side. Yep. We put out an album called Runners in the Night 6 months later. And we toured the country. Rouge was on Broadway with Gilda Radner, Gilda Live from New York, which then became a documentary by Mike Nichols called Gilda Live. Mm-hmm. And then we got invited, through Gilda and John Belushi, who used to introduce us at a little club called Tracks, and we got invited to be the musical guest. Just from nothing to musical guest on Saturday Night Live. It was just like, I think it was just all too much.
Absolutely. Let's touch on that. Maria, do you remember anything about that Saturday Night Live performance? And Desmond as well. But Maria, maybe go first. Do you remember anything about that Saturday Night Live performance that stands out to you?
No, nothing. No.
No, I don't remember being there.
Anything about it.
It was nothing. It was just like a Saturday night.
Yeah, it was just another day. I think what happened to me, I can just talk about myself, let's say. But I think what happened to me is that, everything happened when we were really young. So you're going for it and it's happening to you. So you're really taking it as reality. It's not like only later that, you kind of look and you go, oh, wow, like, all that amazing stuff happened. I wanted it to happen and it just happened. Like we worked hard. We had a lot of raw talent and a lot of stuff like that. But we went through a lot of stuff every single day, all the time in New York, a lot of big stuff. And Saturday Night Live was one of those really big things that you're just doing it when you're doing it. I mean, it was exciting. We'd already gotten really close with Gilda and Paul Schaefer, who had been, doing some work for us. And so they were people that we knew. They were our friends. I remember waiting to go on, I think it was the second song that we did, and just really, it just felt right. Like it felt right that we were there, that we were doing what we were doing. And, so it's only in retrospect that you kind of realize, wow, that was pretty wild.
Right.
Go to the, it was really a wild thing to do. And I've kept watching Saturday Night Live all these years. And I'm still pretty attached to it as sort of, even if it's bad sometimes or even if it's good. But whenever they show that they're changing the scene in the middle, and then they're going to commercial, whatever, I really remember what it feels like being there at that studio doing it. It's an iconic thing to do in your life. I was so really glad that we got a chance to do that show because we'd worked hard and
Absolutely.
We'd been doing really cool stuff. It was a time though where people didn't know what to do with us a little bit, because we were this combination of things that now is very modern. It's very like, oh yeah, right. That's this combination of people, their lifestyles and all the different kind of things that come out in the music. But at that time, I think people weren't quite clear. You were either supposed to be this way or that way. Record companies and, producers and stuff. So I think if we'd kept on going for a while, it would have become more clear. But I think it's something that you just said, which makes me feel good, that when you listen to that first record, it's good. It's actually good, like really good,
Absolutely.
The second record is also really good, and they're very confessional, and there's so much creativity on those records, because I didn't hear them for a while, but
sure.
then when I listened, they're really good. I'm really happy with them, and I'm so glad that we've released them, that they're out there. They're remastered, they're released. I've had different people writing to me saying, oh my God, what is this? This is so, wow, this song or that song. And, on our Instagram, we've got a whole story going on there, with pictures and things to say. And then our website tells we made this little film about the story of Desmond Child and Rouge.
Yep, I watched that, yep.
Really, have you seen that?
Yes, I did. I watched it. Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your impression of all that?
I loved it. To me, it helped bring me back into that time, into that late '70s period. I thought it was a great film. I absolutely loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you into music from that time, or what is your?
I'm into. I'm into all types of music. In the 70s and 80s, I grew up listening to a lot of rock music. Oddly, and I do want to talk about this for a moment with you, Maria. I'm a huge Kiss fan, right? And that's my number one band. But in the 80s, I also listened to. But in the 80s, I also went to concerts of Madonna. Listened to Madonna. She was one of my favorite pop artists, right? So I love pop music. Right. In the 80s, I loved Prince. I loved Survivor. I loved all of that pop music as well, and I liked the Metallicas and the Motley Crue. So I kind of, in some ways, didn't fit in the 80s because people that listen to heavy metal, like, you listen to Madonna? How can you listen to Madonna? I'm like, because it's a good hook. A good song is a good song. It doesn't matter, you know?
Right. You like good songs. That's what you like.
I like a hook. If the hook is there, it could be any type of song. And when I spoke with Desmond, that's one of the things I told him I loved about his writing is it's so dynamic, and those albums also that you guys did are so dynamic. There's all different styles, but the hooks are there. And if you listen to something like West Side Powwow, and I was watching that video again, that's fun. It's a fun video. It's a fun song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and we're continuing to do fun songs, actually. We've been producing and recording some other songs that are waiting in line to come out at some point. We'll drop them. But it's kind of shocking. Like, it's really fun and it sounds really good.
Right.
I have to say,
Right.
I have to say it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, Desmond had this dream that we were going to make new music. And so he called all of us, and we got together in his apartment in New York, and we talked about it. We talked about lots of things and who we are and who we want to be and everything. And we started slowly recording.
I have to add, some tears were shed. Go on.
Some tears were shed for lots of reasons.
A lot of laughs, but some tears were shed. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes the tears were shed from laughing too much too. But we did start kind of recording some stuff little by little. We'd go to Nashville, record some stuff. We'd do some stuff in my studio. I have a little studio here in LA. We all live in different places now, and we'd come together and do things. Then we kind of wait a little bit. Anyway, it kind of all started gelling, and so now we've got this little collection of songs that we've recorded, and they're pretty much all done. And once all those things were done, we had this idea that we would just redo Our Love Is Insane. That was kind of our signature song.
Yep.
It was on, top 40 Billboard.
Yep.
And we said, okay, well, what would that be if it was new, if it was today? And I met this guy, this Israeli guy that I thought was really good. So we started working with him, and we totally remade Our Love Is Insane. Now it's called Double X for 20 or for whatever you want to think. Whatever you want to think in your own mind. And so I think it's good. I mean, we're excited about it. It really sounds fun. A lot of people have heard it. They keep calling me, and they love the new version. So we really want people to get out and listen to it and apply it in apply it to your life in different ways. But we're making a video of it now, which I think is going to be great.
Awesome.
And that's kind of what we're doing. We're doing music, and we're putting it back out.
That's awesome. Now
even though the COVID thing has been terrible, like for people like me, I used to travel all the time, and so I'd lose Monday and Friday so that I could be home with my husband and kids. And so what the wonderful thing that's happened is that it's like I'm not traveling, and now everybody's used to, doing Zoom meetings and Skype and all that. It's not, and you can do writing sessions and all that, and it's not expected. So that you have to travel to do it, and we can send file sharing and all of that, and so that's the wonderful thing about this period of time technologically, because there's much more opportunity to create wonderful things. Because it's like for me, it was like 2 extra days that were a gift, every week. So because of that, then you realize, because there's, people aren't touring, and who knows when touring will come back, and if it'll come back, in the way that we've known it. So people are becoming inventive, and how they're presenting their music, and they're really getting into things. I mean, there are entertainment technologies that are probably not even invented yet,
Sure.
that people will discover and find ways to, have the band like on your desk in 3D,
Right.
Stuff like that.
That's very true.
So we are exploring, Desmond Child and Rouge is exploring all of these, possibilities, and we're working with animators, we're working with different people to create, fun videos and kind of moments for our social, for our Instagram, which is Desmond Child and Rouge, and spelled out.
Okay.
And then we have our website, DesmondChildandRouge.com, where we have, galleries of photos and everything, and it's so wonderful to go there and see how beautiful we are and how fun we are, and I just love it.
Yeah, and that's to me what I picked up when I'm looking at the website and looking at some of the things, the Facebook pages said. It just looks like it was fun. It looked like it was a fun time. And everybody hears the 70s were a lot of fun, but to me, I get that whole vibe from the pictures and everything you guys are posting. It just screams fun to me. Quick.
The other thing about the band is that we really are connected to each other. Like it was like we've never let go of each other in a way. It's like I say, it's kind of a continuum. And that's really surprising, I think, in the world. I don't know that always happens, and we've always thought there was like this kind of I don't know, like little fairy dust or something on us as a group, as an entity.
Yep.
We've always felt that it was the fifth member was the group, like there were us four and then the group. And that has actually continued through the years. So
that's awesome.
we just feel really lucky that we're still doing music and that we're really enjoying it.
Absolutely. So that new music that you guys are referring to, do you think that'll be released in 2021?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to get into the next year. We got to get into the future.
Yep.
And it's like it doesn't matter when we drop a single here and there, because nothing's the same as it was before. It was like everything was timed, like 2 weeks before the album you drop the single
Right.
and you do this and you do that. And they were geared because I guess they understood markets where people go into a shopping mall and go into a record store and they'd wait for the album. That those days are gone.
Right.
So you can do whatever you want. You can record a song in the morning and push like go
right
that night, and your fans are all over the world are listening to your brand new song that you recorded that morning, and that's the wonderful and the egalitarian beauty of this new technology.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you're as famous as good as you are, not because of what some label has spent money on or this or that.
Or what MTV is pushing, whatever.
You're as famous as good as you are, and there's all different reasons why people like something, or are steered in one direction or the other with their taste and with what's happening in the times, in their time, when they're living. What's the people always talk about the jukebox of. I always talk about the people always say the soundtrack of your life. I always say the jukebox.
Yep.
Of your life, because the hits are the things when you go into a convenience store. That's what you hear. When you go into a Walgreens, you hear the hits, and that's what's fantastic, about the soundtrack of our lives. Everywhere you go, you hear music.
Without a doubt.
And so we have decided to be active participants in now and in the future. And keep going, because we have a very special sound. The sound of Maria, Miriam, and Diana together is so unique. No one sounds like that. And so we're very proud of that. But at the time we didn't realize how great we were. Otherwise we would have had more confidence. And so I know for myself that I was so much more creative and productive when I was in Desmond, Child and Rouge, in terms of expressing myself. Later on, I just spent my life helping other people's voices get heard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, now, I'm at the point where I realize that we have something great, and this is a wonderful place for me to be creative and express myself.
Absolutely. And Desmond, I think that, if I go back to those late 70 days time period, you might not have realized how great you are, but I think the people around you were starting, there was a buzz about you guys, right? So isn't it true that George Harrison at one point had come to see you guys perform?
Yeah. Everybody, we have like a little cult following, actually. Yeah. There are Desmond Child and Rouge fans, a lot of them, a lot more than I think we even realized, like Desmond was saying before, John Belushi used to come and watch us, and he would introduce us from the stage and introduce himself first as like Candice Bergen, that he was Candice Bergen, and he was introducing his great, this great band, and lots of different people would come and see us, and like I said, we were young and kind of wet behind the ears, so it was such an honor, that like George Harrison came to see, like one of the Beatles came to see us.
Right.
That was amazing.
Did you know he was in the crowd that night?
It was Paul Stanley who had, showed up a few times. Yep. And he would hang out with us backstage, and he's the one that came backstage before we were getting ready to go on. He said, "Hey, you guys, one of the Beatles is here, George Harrison." And it was like, what? And so we all like peeked, around the curtain, and there he was in the front table, big white teeth glowing in the dark, and it was like, it's like, okay, do you know like what that does to your mind?
Of course.
Like, who is the biggest, recording act in the world of all time? The Beatles.
Absolutely.
And one of them came to see us sing.
Right.
It was like, wow. Like that was one of the biggest thrills of my life.
Oh, without it, I could only imagine. That's only a few years removed from the Beatles having just broke up. So, the Beatles are still the Beatles, 50 years later. But I can only imagine that feeling, looking out in the crowd, and there's George Harrison sitting right in the front. That's amazing. Now, Desmond, you brought up Paul Stanley, right? And I'm glad you did. Because as I said before, I'm a huge Kiss fan. And there's a quote that I once saw from Paul Stanley that I'm guessing you guys have seen, but I just would love to hear you comment on it. Paul Stanley said, when talking about Desmond Child and the Rouge, "They are one of the best live bands I've ever seen in New York, period." End quote. Right? That says a lot. Right? A lot of bands have come through New York. Yeah. So did you guys know that he felt like that? And did you hear that comment before from him?
Well, we made friends, and so he wasn't like complimenting us like that. We just we're like all hanging out like normal. And so then he said, "Oh, why don't you write a song with me?" And I was like, "Oh, okay," for Kiss. And it was like, yeah, because that they're getting ready to make a new album called Dynasty. And then I said, okay, yeah, but you have to write a song with me for Desmond Child and Rouge, and we did that one first called The Fight. The Fight, great song. And we recorded it, and then we got together and wrote I Was Made for Loving You. All right, so the Fight came first? I think that I got the better end of that bargain.
You know what? As a Kiss fan, I have to say I think I agree with you. Even though I Was Made for Loving You was a huge hit, but The Fight's a great song. It's a great song.
No, of course we knew. Of course we knew that he loved us. He was at all the shows. He was always there. Of course we knew that he loved us. And it was exciting. Of course it was.
Absolutely. And
he didn't keep that from us.
Right. Good. I'm glad. And Maria, so Kiss fans may not realize, but you actually sing background vocals on Paul Stanley's '78 solo album, right? On the song "Move On." Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that came about through the friendship, but could you tell a little story about that?
I don't have any stories about it, particularly about that thing, but I know you love Kiss. I always thought that, Paul and I looked alike because we have white skin and red lips. So I was always like, and black
and
hair,
big black hair. curly.
Black hair,
Okay.
big red lips.
So they were like twins separated at birth.
Interesting. Okay.
So, we had a simpatico. Paul is one of the nicest, most amazing people. I mean, we all still know him. And the band that's an amazing story of Kiss just continuing.
Mm-hmm.
They just never stopped. They just kept on going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing thing that you wouldn't have expected necessarily. He was really talented. I remember going into his apartment one time and seeing his collection of guitars that were behind this, beautiful case that he had made. They all had a little light on them, and he's always been a fantastic person to us, and they're so talented, with or without makeup. But like I say, he and I were like, simpatico. So,
Okay.
We met a lot of people. Rouge sang.
I remember walking into a recording session where Steven Tyler was recording a cover of that old doo-wop song. What was it?
Yeah.
And
Walking in the Sand.
Walking in the Sand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he had the girls there, and they were like, he would say, okay, walking in the sand, and then he'd go, remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, remember. He goes, no, remember. And they do it exactly like he said, and he would go, no. It's got to be like, remember. And it went on and on like that, and finally I just left.
Right. Oh, that's
but
great.
That's what happened at Media Sound. Media Sound was an amazing, unbelievably amazing recording studio on 57th Street. It was an old church, and it was so beautiful inside and so, kind of awe-inspiring to work there. And so we were in one room, and, Steven Tyler was in another room. And so sometimes you'd meet really interesting people like that, and you'd end up singing with them, So he came down one time and said, hey, you come on up and sing, And another time, we'd work with Bette Midler. We were working with Cher, afterwards. And, we worked with different people, and Rouge was always going around singing backing vocals as like a little threesome to just get vocals on tape on lots of different records all around the city. We'd wake up in the morning, have some tea, whatever, go do some sessions, go home, take a bath, and then go to the Winter Garden Theater on Broadway and do a Broadway show with Gilda Radner.
Right.
It was not a bad life.
It wasn't. It didn't suck. But I wanted to bring up that Desmond Child and Rouge was asked to sing the title song for a movie called Warriors that has become a cult classic. And there was like a guy that would came out real creepy and said, "Warriors, come out to play." And it was like a gang warfare kind of thing. And I had written I wrote a song for the movie called "Last of an Ancient Breed." And that's one of the things that we did that year that was separate from our records. And a song from one of our records that Miriam sang called "The Night Was Not" went on to a soundtrack called Times Square.
Okay.
So it was like all in 1 year. We just we're doing everything. We were everywhere, and I think that's really astounding. And that was the end effect of how much energy we had. And it was we said no. We never said no. We okay, yeah, we'll do it. Boom.
Right.
And we did.
Right. So to me, it seems like you guys had a lot of momentum starting to build up, but then after 2 albums, that was it. So what happened? Why was it only 2 albums?
I think what I think that what happened was that all of us had come from. We were very young, and we didn't know what we were doing, and we were surrounded by people that didn't understand how great we were, and the label that we were at didn't understand us because we were an East Coast band, and it was a West Coast label.
Sure.
And so, the top star there was Bob Seger.
Right.
So we were in this in this compendium of artists, we were kind of oddball. You know, it was like we were strange. So we weren't getting, enough, feedback. I mean, we went on Saturday Night Live. The label didn't even turn up or send us flowers or anything. So it was like we didn't feel appreciated. And so that was one thing. And also just personally, the four of us had very difficult childhoods. And I think that, when you have so much, you're under so much pressure, then all of those, kind of things kind of jump out. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. It's like I didn't know how to handle success. I didn't know how to manage, all the things that were happening. And I was talking to a big producer who was telling me, "Oh, you could be like the biggest solo artist of all time." And the singing with girls, what's that? That's not cool, or that's not masculine, and things like that were kind of making me question whether the setup was really the right one. But then later on, Prince, Madonna, everybody had corseted, girls that look like out of Moulin Rouge.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's like we were hipper than we knew, and we just weren't surrounded by people that kept us going, because that's the whole thing. When you have a manager that believes in you, it's like, and he has to go out there and kill for you, like the way Kenny Laguna killed for Joan Jett. It was like they were one, and that it takes that. It really does.
Yeah.
And so we were too young and too innocent and too uneducated in the ways of the world and even in the music industry to know how to navigate, all of the pressure that we were in. Yep. That's my answer. I mean, there are other reasons, but I think that's the main reason.
Right. No, I think that.
What do you think, Maria?
Yeah, Marie.
I do think we were. We should have taken like a little break. We should have taken just a little break, because a lot of things happen all at the same time, and we really should have gotten some new managers and that kind of thing if we had been just a little more focused, about and committed about staying together against the odds, against the odds. But we took a break of 40 years, something like that, and now we're back.
Right. Now, Maria, didn't you guys also? I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, didn't you guys also work with Desmond on his '91 Discipline album? I think you sang a little bit on that. And then did you guys perform together at the Hall of Fame Songwriters ceremony in 2008? Is my history right here?
Yeah, you've got it.
All right.
There was no way I was going to inducted. There was no way I was going to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame without Desmond Child and Rouge at my side. It sounds funny to say Desmond Child and Rouge and I'm Desmond Child, but in my mind it's like a separate thing. It's like it's its own thing.
Right.
But I wasn't gonna. That wasn't gonna happen, and we went crazy. We opened that night, and we had Rouge. We had other background singers that came with the show. We had like horns. We had Latin percussion. I had from the back of the room, I had street musicians playing like street percussion come to the front on the floor in front of us, and we played a medley of 8 hits, one after the other, and of course we sang "Love on a Rooftop," which was the song that we worked on together on my album Discipline, and also Maria and I had done a duet on that album called Obsession that I co-wrote with Burt Bacharach. So, it's like we've also performed at Laura Nero, 2 Laura Nero memorials, and we have versions of her music that, actually we should just make an album of that. Because the vocals
we were actually thinking of doing that. Laura Nero was like an idol of all of us, of all of ours. And so singing her songs, you should actually go online and listen to it.
really beautiful. It's the live version of the song that we sang at the Laura Nero benefit at Speakman Theater, when not benefit, but her memorial when she died. Ricky Lee Jones sang, a lot of people sang, and that's sort of an era of music that just really connected a bunch of people in New York at the time. Mm-hmm. It's very singer-songwriter, it's very emotive. It's girl voices, and as a matter of fact, Desmond named one of his sons Nero after Laura Nero. So that was a very particular...
Yeah, Nyro. Okay. And when he was a little kid, he always says, "Why'd you have to name me after a lesbian folk singer?" And my response was always, Dylan was taken.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. That's great. Now,
I mean, there must have been like 4 or 5 Dylans in every classroom they were ever in.
Sure, absolutely.
But we, like I've said before, we never really broke up. Is the thing, right. We didn't continue doing music all those years, but we never really broke up, and that's why this kind of feels what we're doing now. It kind of feels just like a continuum.
It's natural. It's just natural to make music natural. Together.
Yeah, it's a continuum. We're doing it, and so it's unusual. I think it's an unusual thing. It's not like we broke up and everyone did this and that and we just never really broke up. The definition changed a little bit through the years of what we were up to and stuff, but we're making music again now, and it just feels really natural. So that's really what we're here to say. Is that we're doing that, and we're still street, we're still New York, really, in our hearts, no matter what.
Yeah. We have so many. If you go on into our website, we have galleries with so many gorgeous pictures of us because of Ciro Barbaro, our he was like our guy. And we did like so many photo shoots and so many situations, so many costumes, so many hairdos, all these things that Maria and I have been talking about, the idea of maybe publishing a coffee table book with all of these pictures that are so beautiful. Wow. And maybe interviews of, the people in the group and, telling the same story, but from their point of view. And I think, we're going to work on that. We there's many, many ways that we can express ourselves and establish the fact that, hey, we came to New York City and we were Latin kids. Maria and I are Cuban, Miriam's Puerto Rican, from Brooklyn, and Diana was from Kendall, but Italian. But, she grew up all around Cuban. So we had a very strong Latin thing about us, which was ahead of our time as well. And so we came to live the American dream. And so, songs like West Side Powwow and City and Heat, they talked about, the urban landscape in a way that hadn't really been sung about before.
Absolutely.
And so we came to New York and we conquered. And I think that's really the wonderful thing about being the children of immigrants, that came to this country.
Yeah.
And we're first generation.
Absolutely.
And that's I think that's of note.
Absolutely. One of the things that jumped out at me with the second album, because I was always big at read it all, the liner notes on albums, loved doing that, right? And the second album was dedicated to the power of love. And I always wondered, what exactly did that mean, dedicated to the power of love? Any recollection of
that? Did you come up with your own answer or no?
No, I just assumed.
What do you think?
Yeah, I just assumed it was that time period, everybody having a good time, loving each other, being happy, and that's what I took it to mean. But I didn't want to assume that, so I figured I'd hear it straight from you guys.
I think it runs a lot deeper than that.
Okay.
Of course, like love does, like love tends to do. And I think probably looking at that dedication now, it stands true that the power of love has kept us four together, and it is what moves us forward in life. Like a lot of things
happened to us during that time, during that last year of our being together and everything, that love had to conquer those things that had happened. So I think maybe at that point, it's what that meant. But I think it just, it stands for itself, what it means about just the longevity of love and how it can keep you together no matter what, which it has done. It actually has done in Desmond, Child, and Rouge.
And I think it's very apropos now, because
Agreed.
It totally is.
We've had this like sudden like relief, and I think that we have to believe in the power of love and the power of forgiveness, and and start to look at the fact that our souls aren't who we are on the outside. That they're neutral, energies. I mean, that sounds very hippie-like, but I do believe that. And I'm just like so happy that there's a chance, that we could live in a more peaceful world where people have more and more freedom as individuals and more opportunity. Absolutely. And that we can save the planet from destruction, of greed, of industrialists who would have us just breathing, pure carbon. You know what they're probably working on? Just like changing our biology so we don't breathe oxygen, we breathe carbon dioxide. So it's like we're like plants. I'm sure they're looking into it.
I wonder if I'm going to be around when that happens.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
I'm not so sure about that.
Very interesting. Absolutely. So I know before you were talking about that you re-recorded "Our Love Is Insane," and did you say that you're working on a video for that as well? Did I hear you right with that?
We are. Yeah, we're working on a video, an animated video. I'm really excited to see, in the end how it comes out. But I think it's going to be cool, and we're still mixing some of the other songs that we've been doing some different productions on it and getting them mixed and ready to go. So I think, this is like we're just going to keep doing stuff. We're not going to stop. We're just going to keep doing music, putting it out there. We'll keep talking about it. People will hear it, hopefully. People like you will talk to us about it and maybe like it even, and have other people listen to it. I think we're just going to keep being creative. One of the things that has happened to me during this COVID time is, much like Desmond, I always was traveling. I went and lived in Europe for a while, and I'm always going from state to state. I'm always on an airplane, and I've had to sit still, So it's made me really focus on getting some things done, and making this music has been really a stabilizing thing for me, to just be really creative and begin it, to have the middle of it, and then finish it. That has been a really satisfying thing. So that's kind of started a new trajectory for me of just really sitting down and getting work done, which is what we've done, long distance. And
really drilling down and not being distracted, by so many things. And it's like it's miraculous, like how much you can get done, than just hopping from this place to that place.
It's true. It really is.
Yeah. So So
we invite everyone to come visit us in our world, DesmondChildandRouge.com, and where we have a little, documentary movie that Maria made. It's really more of like an art piece. It's impressions. It's like so moody and cool.
Yep.
And then and our Instagram is @DesmondChildandRouge, and we're like posting like every other day, every day. There's something new, and the photography is fantastic, and we're working with a team of animators in Sicily who are actually my Venezuelan cousins who live in Sicily now, and they're doing such fantastic work. Their team is called Waterhouse Entertainment, and so it's amazing because it's like a 7-hour difference between us and them.
Nine,
So,
9 hours.
Maria and I like sort of get around to things like kind of like when it's like 5 a.m. for them.
Sure. Right.
But they've been like fantastic.
Right.
So we're very excited about the work we're doing, and and working with other people, animators, and Zero continues finding like these cool like off camera like the kind of like candid shots of us from those times from backstage with interesting people. So it's been a wonderful time because it's so easy to just kind of like forget who you are.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's like for me it's like I didn't kind of know who I was, but now when I look at this, it's like, oh, that's who I am, and I didn't even know who I was.
Right.
So it's kind of like a weird thing.
I'm telling you who you are. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
that's
who I really am.
That's great.
That's who I am.
And the 2 original albums have been re-released, and where can people find those? Are they available on Amazon and places like that?
Yes, they're available everywhere, and everywhere you can find music.
Spotify, yep.
And it's Amazon Prime, right? And iTunes, or is Amazon Prime like a video thing? I don't know. It's also iTunes, and it's like a bunch of different ways to find us.
Excellent.
Like Pandora, Tidal. We're signed up everywhere. So you can't escape us. That's the point.
That's awesome. So let's just go through it one more time for the fans, right? So on Instagram, where do they find you? What's the name?
Desmond Child and Rouge.
Okay.
Desmond Child and Rouge. Then the website is DesmondChildandRouge.com.
Okay.
And if you go to the web, like if you were to go to YouTube and put in the story of Desmond Child and Rouge, you'd get that little film of us.
Yep.
But if you went on the website, you'd get that film, you'd get all of our videos, you'd get, you'd see everything. So you'd also see all the places that you can get the music, that you can listen to it, that you can stream it, that you can download. So I think going to the website is a great thing to do. It's just DesmondChildandRouge.com.
Absolutely. And I'll agree with you because that's where I went. That's how I found the film. And anybody who's listening to this, I highly recommend it. It was a great film, fun film. So it really sets the tone. Anything else that you guys want to tell your fans before we wrap this up?
Well, just let them know our love is insane, double X. Put it on in the morning and get your booty shaking because it's going to pick up your spirits, and the voices, the voices are angelic and celestial.
Agreed.
So we encourage people go there and feel our energy, and and we look forward to building more and more fans, even more than ever, like from here forward.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much. Thank you to you.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh no,
thank you to everybody.
Yes, no, thank you both. This was an honor for me, and I can say I'm speaking on behalf, I'm sure, of all the fans that we look forward to the new music in 2021. Can't come soon enough, so we're definitely looking forward to that. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
And thanks for having that fabulous accent. I just got so thank you so much.
Glad I could bring it to the show for us all, the accent. Excellent.
Okay.
Right.
Bye, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Maria. Thank
Love
you,
you, man.
Desmond.
Thank
great,
you so
great
much.
talking to you both. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye-bye. Alrighty. There you have it. I'd like to thank both Maria and Desmond for joining me for nearly an hour and talking about everything going on in the world of Desmond Child and Rouge. I know all the fans are going to be really excited to hear that new material will be coming in 2021, and we really look forward to that. I know I really enjoyed hearing your stories about George Harrison, Paul Stanley, Saturday Night Live, and even Maria's point of view about being Gina from Living on a Prayer. It was really a lot of fun, and I want to thank the both of you. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.